Hello, this is Valerie Aiello, and you're listening to ID Diary. Thanks for coming back to my office and hanging out. Today, I wanted to go over a book called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing, which was apparently published in 1993 by some advertising executives that worked throughout the 60s, 70s, I'm guessing through the 90s. And their names are Ries and Trout. And I just wanted to try to squeeze in all 22 of the laws in one episode. So let's see if I can do it. I'm going to do it fast. I'm going to try not to mumble and talk too fast, but we'll see because I really just want to cram it all into one show, and I'll put everything in the show notes. So if it's a little bit too long, you can just grab it and go. So number one law is law of leadership. And they said be first. So when you're first to market, you're pretty much unbeatable for the most part. So like if you're Coke, Uber, etc., all those main brands that kind of become the verb, and they stay on top because of that. Number two, law of the category. So if you can't be the first, then make a new first. If you can't be the best soda on the market, be the best diet soda. So like come up with something new and make it happen. Number three, law of the mind. Be the first in mind of the consumer. Being too early is like not being right. You have to be right on time. So, for example, the Netflix guys that created Netflix, one of them had created a video droid in the 80s. It was the same concept as a red box, and that concept was too early to market, and he ended up being able to work on Redbox and then eventually help with creating Netflix. But regardless, it is the law of the mind. So you want to be the first in the customer's mind. So even though you might be first to market, you might not be the first to gain all the glory. Number four, law of perception. So brands can be different things to different people. So for example, in China, Honda was known for being a motorcycle brand, and in the United States, Honda was known for being a car brand. So just to know that can affect your product and how successful you are, your brand. Number five, law of focus. So own a word in the minds of the consumers or the people. So when you think of Xerox, when you say Xerox, you mean just a copy. So every copy machine that came after Xerox, you kind of would say Xerox. When Uber came out, you kind of say, I'm going to catch an Uber, even if you meant a different company. So it's a lot of perception. Things mean something different to different people. So number five, law of focus is own a word in their minds. Oh, I think that's what I already said. So Xerox, Uber, Coke. When you say Coke, you mean all brands of soda usually. Number six, law of exclusivity. Avoid using someone else's word. So if one brand has wholesome and they've branded everything with their brand with wholesome, but you also have a wholesome product, you need to pick a new word. Don't take someone else's word. And own your own word. So number seven, law of the ladder. Give a reason why it's not better to be number one. So there are some examples of this. It was a car rental company that was number one, was Hertz. Number two was Avis, and Avis did all their branding and their marketing based on that it's better to be number two because number two tries harder to keep the customers happy. So number eight, law of duality. Every market becomes a two-horse race, which this is something to think about. I got to dig deeper in this in my own mind. But usually it's a two-horse race, so it's like Coke and Pepsi are the big people fighting for the customers. I guess like Democrat and Republican, those are the main two people. Even though there's more political parties and stuff, There seems to be always this law of duality, like two people are in the race. Number 9, law of opposite. Don't be better, be different. How you're different could be your competitors' weaknesses. So, I don't know, like if one grocery store is just big and giant and they have everything, you can use that sort of a weakness to where your grocery store might be tiny and have a limited stuff, but you have better customer service, you can pay more attention. Being different can be a selling point. So number 10, law of division. Categories will split into new categories, creating new leaders. A computer category, if you're the top computer, then the next round of computer companies might be the laptop, so the top laptop computer. But it's like a same thing but a different category. And then going into the phones, whoever was a leader in the laptop world is now there's an opportunity to be the best phone, and so on and so on. So categories can divide, and there's space for a new leader. So number 11, law of perspective. Marketing efforts take time. Marketing efforts take place over time. For example, if you are constantly having a sale or randomly having a sale, you're kind of training your customers to not buy until there's a sale. Now, that could be a marketing plan, but at the same time, your marketing efforts can think about them being effective over years rather than flash sales. Number 12, law of line extension. Irresistible pressure to extend equity of the brand. Oh, so this one was when you're Heinz and you're known for ketchup, but then you want to be like selling jelly and mayonnaise and all the different things you could be selling. It's irresistible pressure to not go and try to capture other markets and be the leader in other markets. When the law of line extension, it might weaken your brand. So you have to kind of know that broadening your product lines could be bad. Number 13, law of sacrifice. Give up something to gain something. So you need to give up a product line, a target market, or a constant change. You've got to kind of choose one of these three things to move forward. But if you're fine with staying the same, I guess you don't necessarily have to give up something, you just keep on rolling. But if you do want to grow and, scale up, you've got to give up something and keep working. Number 14, law of attribute. For every selling point, there is an opposite effective attribute. So Coca-Cola put out an advertising saying they were the original because they were the leader in the market. They were the first to be the most popular. So then Pepsi released a marketing campaign saying they were the soda for the new generation. I remember that happening. So you got to think when somebody else has a marketing campaign and you feel like you can think of a marketing campaign that's the opposite of that, and that could work. Number 15, law of candor. Emitting a negative will give you a positive. So, for example, the brand Listerine, their competitor ran a marketing campaign that they're the better tasting mouthwash, and Listerine tastes awful. So then Listerine put out a marketing campaign that was basically saying, yes, they do taste awful, but it's because it works. It tastes like cleaner. It's cleaning your mouth. A negative can be a positive. You can spin it. Number 16, law of singularity. Only one move will produce substantial results. Okay, out of 100% of your effort, 20% will bring you success, and 80% is a waste of time. So you got to get better at focusing on what's the 20% that's making me better and making my brand grow, and focus on that 20%. Not to throw out the other 80, but it's about figuring out what works and moving forward on that and working on that the most. Number 17, law of unpredictability. So flexibility is key. So you don't want a long-term plan, you want a long-term direction that assumes that things will change. And I translate this into the pivot. You got to be ready to pivot. If things aren't working out, you got to be ready to change. So it's I guess a balance between your marketing plan will take time to knowing the landscape has changed and you've got to pivot. You're going down a road that's not successful. Number 18, law of success. Success leads to arrogance. Ego is the enemy of marketing. So you want to avoid your biases, you want to remain objective, and you want to think like a customer. So a lot of times, I guess brands just get to the point where they're the best. No one can touch them. And then their marketing kind of reflects that, and it's a turnoff. Law of failure. Number 19. Failure is expected, and you must have calculated risk. So you want to reward risk taking and reward creativity, and just know that some things aren't going to work and you have to balance it out. You just don't want to lose a bunch of money, at least money that you really need. So you got to balance it out. So, number 20, law of hype. Financial institutions often, their situation is often opposite of what is portrayed, like in the media. So if you think a company is losing a bunch of money and they're going down, the ship's going down, sometimes it's the complete opposite. There's something about the hype that makes people think that your company's going bad, but in reality, it's actually doing great. Something to think about and consider when you're listening to the news and the marketplace and trying to figure out what are the trends, what's your next move. So number 21, law of acceleration. Success is not built on fads, it's built on trends. So a fad is like a wave and a trend is like the tide. So you want to ride the trend and not just the fad. Number 22, law of resources. A basic idea with adequate funding can be successful, and I guess a great idea with no funding can fail. And I'm not a person that thinks it takes money to make money. I don't believe that. I've seen it work plenty of times where you've not spent a lot of money to become successful. Obviously, there's always some things that you actually do have to spend money on, but a lot of people think they have to spend a bunch of money when it's not necessarily necessary. You can spend a little and test things out. All of these things I agree with. And I think this is apparently like a very important book. Someone had mentioned it to me. So you can listen to an abridged audio version of this book. You can listen to the full thing. There's tons of YouTube videos on this where they just go over the main points of the book. And I definitely suggest you check it out. They have another book called the 22 Immutable Laws of Branding, I guess. I'm going to do that book too and put that on the show, put that on my notes. This is how I kind of log my brain is I do a show and I share it with you so that I can reference it later, go deeper into it if that's what I need to do. And it just hopefully you found this valuable, and I'll see you guys later. That's the show. Bye.